Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight we have yet another Grand Funk episode. This is going to be good. We're looking at Grand Funk's 1970 album, the live album. Will I like it? I don't know. We will see. DC's here. Let's get started.
Talking bands no one talks about. Grant's Rock Warehouse.
Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse and to yet another episode in the Grand Funk series.
Yes.
What can I say? Tonight we're looking at the 1970 live album. And this is part of a series called Grand Funk Railroad. We're an American band that Grant hates. And DC is trying to convert me.
Making a little bit of headway every time we do a show.
Well, maybe. We looked at Grand Funk Shining On.
Right.
We've looked at, go ahead. And we looked at E Pluribus. I don't think we made any headway there.
Yeah, because like I said, that of the earlier albums before Todd produced them is my favorite of the studio albums. And it wasn't resonating with you very much at all.
Did we looked at We're American Band, right? Didn't we?
We touched on it when we talked about Shining On because Todd Productions, and we were bouncing ideas off of each albums and the differences and the level of songwriting between the two albums.
Yeah, that's why I feel like I almost feel like we've covered it because, you know, both of those records, Shining On and We're American Band, are I still listen to it, they just seem like leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
And I think Shining On's even a better album than We're American Band. I think Shining On is the best one of the lot so far.
I go back to Shining On more than I do We're an American Band, for what it's worth.
It just seems more like they fine-tuned what they were doing with American Band, you know.
Yeah.
And think about it. I was doing just some research today. This all pertains to it. And I was looking to see what Robert Christgau would say about this live album. But anyway, I stumbled across his review for Shining On. Okay. And he gave it a B, which I think is
that's a mind blower because all the rock intelligentsia of that era hated Grand Funk. They could do no right. Now they got a little cred for having Todd produce them. And I do remember reading a review of Shining On, and I don't remember what reviewer said this, but he said the song Shining On is the best thing Grand Funk.
That's what Christgau said.
That may be the review that I read, though.
He said that's the best song, and Todd knew what to do with them.
He absolutely did.
And he said that not many bands get a chance to make 9 albums, and we're talking early 70s.
Yep.
So this was their 9th album, and he says that's their best record, and that's unheard of. That bands could improve that much. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So he was taken with it.
They were so raw early on, and Todd brought a sheen and a level of understanding where the market was going as far as them having chart success. And like you've said on both shows, Todd saved their ass. The FM rock thing was fading out. You know, you weren't getting FM rock stations to be playing 9-minute songs like they got away with I'm Your Captain and everything.
Yeah, when it was an experimental medium back in the day.
Exactly. And they
pirate radio and all that.
They needed to funnel their talents into a more commercial sound. And who would be more better in the let's just say mid-70s as a producer than Todd? I mean, he had it all down pat.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I agree 100%. So there you go. We touched on Shining. We keep coming back to those Todd albums, but tonight we're going to look at that live album from 1970. In fact, this was released on Capitol, of course, November 16th, 1970. There you go, DC.
There's my original copy from 1970.
I'm going to assume that's a green label. Yes, sir.
Yes, it is.
There you go. So the first single on the album was Mean Mistreater. That was released November 23rd. And they released another single off of this record, Inside Looking Out, in January 71. Double record set. I guess the CDs all came out on, well, no, I should show you that. Oh, here it is right here. Duh.
There you go.
Fat Boy.
Yes.
Past Masters. Which always high quality.
One. I think I've got both.
That's the remaster, I think.
Yeah, I believe this
So
is.
they changed the track lineup on that to reflect the actual track lineup in of that show.
Hmm.
This is a bit well, it there's a couple of songs. This follows the original lineup
Okay.
that came out on vinyl. But anyway, this is a double Fat Boy, which is kind of cool. Um, but yeah,
So I would be real curious, as you are a fan of Don Brewer's vocals and not so much Mark Farner. Now, in a live setting, I'm going to pick a couple of songs here. And if you listen to Heartbreaker and Mean Mistreater, you got to be impressed by Mark Farner's vocals on both of those tunes.
well,
Or,
I also I hate to go back to Robert Christgau,
mhm.
but he has a quote that I have to mention.
All right.
Mark Farner's singing, which combines the worst of Jack Bruce with the worst of Eddie Fisher. And he was mentioning that on the Phoenix album. And you know what? He's kind of right.
I couldn't offer any information about Eddie Fisher's vocal prowess.
But what
But
about Jack
Jack
Bruce?
Bruce, what does he find so offensive or the worst of Jack Bruce?
No, Jack Bruce is great. But
Well,
this is
he
the
says it
worst.
combines the worst of Jack Bruce, and I'm trying to think of
Well,
what the worst of Jack
I don't
Bruce
know.
is. I don't know. And Eddie Fisher, I couldn't tell you anything other than he was married to Debbie Reynolds.
And they produced, yeah, Carrie Fisher.
Well, he's
We
got
know
that
that.
going
But
for him. That's
anyway, I'm
good.
just mentioning it because
Hmm.
evidently Chris Cow was not a fan of Mark Farner.
Oh
And
my
I get
God.
it. I get it.
I draw parallels to a male, a Janis Joplin at times with Mark Farner.
It's, it's
You're not
just,
feeling it.
well, we'll get to it. We'll
Okay.
get to it. All right. So anyway, what can I say about this record? The record was recorded Jacksonville Coliseum, 1970, with the exception of Paranoid and Inside Looking Out, which were recorded at Palm Beach Civic Beach Auditorium. So most of it, two two different shows. Um, I'm just saying. Evidently, there's some bonus tracks on the Closer to Home 2002 CD that came from the Jacksonville or Palm Beach show. And
Yeah,
I don't think.
a lot of those remastered releases from Grand Funk, the extra tracks, a lot of them tend to be from live concerts that they
Mhm.
tacked on. I don't think there was a lot left over in the studio on a lot of those albums that they could give you bonus cuts, but they seem to have a lot of live material that they add on to those remastered CDs.
So, based on what came out at this time, a lot of it were panned by the critics, as we know. Critics not a fan of Grand Funk until, well, at least until American Band. Chris Cow gave this a C minus. All Music gave this a 3 out of 5. Rolling Stone had given this a 3 out of 5. But I don't think a 3 out of 5 necessarily is bad. It's not like they're giving them a
No, it's
square or a 1 star. So I don't.
exactly. They're
But
just right smack in the middle. Uh, they were a band of the people. Like I say, the critics, for whatever reason, just couldn't, they didn't get it. It didn't move them. They weren't impressed. But the masses sure were drawn to this band. And if
mhm.
you listen to this live album, the crowd response and the energy of this band, and it seemed like what they were getting back from the crowd. I mean, it's electric. My opinion. I think
There's a lot of energy. We'll get to
there's a
that.
lot going back and forth between the band and the crowd. And like I said, maybe the critics just it didn't resonate with them, but
Mhm.
your average Joe and Janie concert goer, rock music fan of the early to mid 70s, this band connected with the people. So
And in fact, DC, it connected so well, it peaked at number 5 on the Billboard 200. It was a crossover hit on the R&B chart,
take
believe it
that.
or not.
Mark Farner is a very soulful vocalist, and there is a version of Inside Looking Out that was recorded in '69, and I don't know what venue Grand Funk was playing. It was a studio setting, and there's so many people that have watched that and comment. You know, these comment videos, they'll
Hmm.
watch a tune or whatever, and then there are many black music fans that have reviewed that song and said, if I didn't see this, I would have thought that was a soul artist singing. So I'm just saying, I get a lot of passion and soul with Mark Farner's vocals. Now, like I
Hmm.
said, we all hear things differently, but
Well,
my
I can see that too. I can see
yeah,
that too. I'm not.
Mean Mistreater, Heartbreaker from this live set, man,
Mhm.
it is just he's giving it his all to
All
me.
right, cool. Well, before I give my spiel, um, go ahead. Give me a
I'll
sell me
I'll
on this,
okay,
DC.
I'll give you my introduction into Grand Funk, and
Please do.
it was with this live album. A neighbor of mine, when I was growing up, I was still in grade school. I am that old. He brought that album over to my house, and we put it on the console in the living room.
Hmm.
And he said, "You got to hear this band." And because I was a little punky guitar player back then, but I wasn't
Well, we still are.
I wasn't attuned to Grand Funk Railroad yet. And when we put it on the console, I was blown away. I loved it right from the beginning. It grabbed me
Hmm.
big time. And it was like it wasn't within 2 days that my dad ran me up to Hill's department store.
Hills. I
Remember
remember
Hill's?
Hills.
And that's
We had a
where
Hills.
there's that very copy of Grand Funk Live that I was showing. I purchased that. That's the album from back in the day. And I've loved it ever since. I mean, I've worn out the grooves on this album. Here's a funny side. My dad was a guitar player and a singer, and he liked rock music up until about this time period when Young D started listening to Grand Funk and Black
Hmm.
Sabbath and Zeppelin. My
Oh
dad
no.
dropped off. This wasn't the Beatles and Rolling Stones.
Right.
Have no tolerance for this stuff. He's looking at the back of that album and going down, looking at the songs.
Hmm.
He gets the TNUC. And I think he was just trying to figure out how much I knew because he goes, "Hey, what's this song TNUC all about?" I didn't know anything about a certain word spelled backwards. I think he was just testing me. And I just said, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know." But yeah,
But
like
did
I
you
said,
know?
I did not know. No, wasn't until a few years later that it was a light shone on me, and I figured it all out.
There you go. That's okay.
But I mean, it grabbed me from the very beginning. This band, the synergy between the three players, I think they're in each other's heads as they're playing. I mean, it's just the communication between them is, to me, astounding. And I want to throw something back at you. And I know you've complimented Mel before, but as a bass player,
Hmm.
I mean, even a lot of critics that didn't like Grand Funk would always note Mel Shocker, wow, what a bass player. And the guy really is, I think, astounding. It's almost like a second lead guitar at times.
Well,
Or
we're going to talk about that.
okay, all right. I'm
But
just
go ahead,
curious.
say whatever you need to say.
I mean, and like I said, I didn't see this band perform. All I'm going by is the photos that, were included with the album and everything. But I could kind of tell they were great showmen too. And as far as the main guy out front, Mark Farner,
Hmm.
he's a fantastic showman. Although I know you have issues with him always being bare chested and strutting around like a
I just,
peacock.
there's just something
Rubbed you the
about it.
wrong way.
I
Just
I don't know what it is.
at
There's
least
just
he's
an
in
awful
shape.
lot of him. I think Mark's works better when he's more balanced out and isn't on all the time. Don Brewer as a vocalist just is just so. Even Robert Christgau on his review said, "Oh my God, they finally are utilizing Don Brewer. Thank God, because
Mhm.
it's just Mark, Mark, Mark. Too much Mark. Mark's too much."
Yeah. I mean, well,
Okay.
he got the
And
lion's
Don
share.
balances out. But when Don, you don't get tired of Don. Don, as a vocalist, I don't get tired of. I want more.
So,
So
isn't that interesting how we hear that? Because I love Don Brewer too, and I would just put Mark a little bit
no,
above Don,
I
but
put
Don's
this
fantastic.
is Don Brewer. Mark, I just want to shoot him.
Yeah, I don't think that aspect of this band is ever going you're ever gonna come around on Mark Farner as a vocalist. It's just the way you're hearing it. He's not resonating with you, Grant. He
It's
just
just
isn't.
too much. It's
Yeah,
too
yeah.
much. We'll get to that. All right. So DC, what before I tear this album apart, what on the no, I'm not gonna tear it apart. Well, I have
A little bit.
I have some criticisms of
Oh,
it.
we want to hear
There
it.
are
We
things
want
that
to hear it.
irritate me.
All right.
But do you want my should you give me what you like about it first? or do you want to hear my
It is.
irritations?
It's it's energetic. It's raw. It's riffy.
I okay.
It's
Energetic, yes. Raw, very raw. Riffy. I riffage though. I thought in the mix, and I'm pretty sure this is the original mix
mhm.
because all these past masters they took everything from the master tapes, warts and all. It's a
Yeah.
beauty of the past master series from Japan.
Yep.
Capital would just there you go, and they didn't futz with them. They just put them out.
Yeah.
So if
I
you're an
think.
audiophile, you want the past masters versions. All right. Anyway,
Mhm.
that's a whole Steve Hoffman thing.
I think
Go
there's
ahead, give me some. Give me some other. Give me something else. It's raw. It's loud. It's
there's
riffing.
a energy. There's a
Energy.
synergy between the three players. How they're Mel fills in on bass. Mark, I love his vocals, so that's going to resonate with me.
How
And right from the opening, when that I don't know who the hell the dude is, and here's the band you've been waiting to see, Grand Funk Railroad, and then just the
right?
crowd goes, and it's go 1, 2, 3, 4, doom, 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 doom.
And you're
When
in.
they hit in, are
You're
you
you're
ready?
roped in. You're
You're
in.
roped in, man. I'm and like I said, and my older neighbor, I'm sitting in my family. Not foot stomping music.
Woo!
Hey, everybody.
Everybody,
Hey.
I'm wearing no shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, ladies, don't you love it?
Don't you love it? Look at my muscles.
But
But
I
anyway.
mean, I'm sitting on the couch in my living room as a grade school kid, and I'm just floored by these guys.
Mhm.
And there's also something to be said about when specific bands hit you and what age you are. You know what I mean? When you're
Well,
at that
it's like
impressionable
Rush.
age, exactly.
It all depends on when you come in because a lot of people go, oh God, 2112 is the best. Oh no. Permanent Waves is the oh no, it's
It's
Power Wind.
it's it's your age
Yeah.
and your passion for music is starting to develop at I would say it like for I'd always been that
Well, I
way,
was
but
13 when
then
I hit.
yeah,
No, I take it back, DC. I lied. I was 10. That's when I heard the Beatles when I was 10. And
yeah.
that's when it started. I was a fanatic ever since.
Yeah, I'm a bit older than you, and my mom always used to tell me that back in the day, and yes, I am this old, when American Bandstand was on
Well, it
Monday
was
through
on when I was a
Friday,
kid.
well, I mean, it was on Monday through Friday early
Oh,
on, and she said as a toddler, she'd sit me down in front of the TV, and that music be going, I'd be going back and forth like this into it,
oh my God. That's where it
big time.
started.
That's what started. I mean, I've always been passionate about music,
Hmm.
and my parents were big. My dad, like I said, was a player and a singer. Music was always going in our house.
You were
One of my
lucky.
earliest memories is being a little peewee walking around family parties my parents would have in the basement. And this is when women wore skirts and
Hmm.
just having women dancing and having skirts like bop me in the face as they're all
As a
twirling
kid.
around. And as a kid, you're just walking around,
Jeez, calm
hanging
down,
your
women.
settle down,
Women,
ladies,
settle
settle
down,
down.
ladies. You're whipping me. I get
But
whiplash.
but I'm thinking with Grand Funk, it was like other than the Beatles and of course the Monkees and Paul Revere narrators and the stuff 45s I would buy and everything. Really, when you start talking about that next level of album rock type groups,
Hmm.
my neighbor, I was floored by Grand Funk. And like I said, it lit a fire underneath me. And maybe that's part of it. Maybe I've kind of have blinders on because it was that initial foray into this next level of music appreciation in the rock world. You're moving from 45s and fair like the Monkees and everything, and you're going into a hard rock realm. But I was floored by this album. Just like I said, the things
Well, how has it aged for you now? When
I
you
don't
listen to it, does it take you right back? Do you
it'll take
find
me
it just
right.
as great then as you do now?
Well, it takes me back to my initial listen. Do I reach for it as much as I did back in the day? Because like I said, I wore out the vinyl on this
Hmm.
double album set back in the day. I'll give it a listen a couple times a year, and that's good enough. And like I
Well,
say, my iPod houses thousands of songs, and I hit it on shuffle play. And every once in a while, something from the live album will pop up in shuffle play, and it's like, oh yeah, it
well,
still resonates with me.
but in all fairness, this is an album that you've heard a bazillion times. You don't have you could play it in your head probably
Oh
without
yeah,
hearing it. You know,
yeah. Yeah, and
Um,
sometimes I do. I mean, if I just reminiscing about times in my life and bands I played in, um, we played some of the songs off of this album, so of course it's always with me in a certain way. But
do
like that's true. It is like the back of my hands, and I can, recite just about how all these songs go and
mhm.
little passages and everything. It's all locked in here. So,
So when you listen to these versions,
hmm.
some bands they have live versions of stuff, and those songs trump the studio versions. Do you feel that the live versions are stronger than the studio tracks, or do you feel that
Absolutely.
they just complement them?
No, they outstrip the album versions. In fact, I can't stand to listen to the album versions of these songs on this live album. I mean, you have those early On Time, the Red album,
Hmm.
all those albums leading up to this live album. I never play those. I never play them because the versions here are so superior and the tempo is a bit faster that when I listen to those uh, studio cuts, it drags to me because I'm used to the power of the live performance and the up tempo pace of the
Hmm.
songs. I never go back to those early studio albums and listen to those versions.
Okay. All
Just
right.
don't.
Fair enough. So are there any, well, I think you pretty much just explained it. So any of these, you'd much rather listen to these than the studio versions.
Yeah, there's not a track on this live album where I prefer the studio version. Not even close. I never
How do you
listen to
feel about the
those.
mix on this record?
Well, they didn't. I don't think they went in there and dickered around too much like the Thin Lizzy live
Well, I
and
think
Dangerous.
there are
It's
certain
just
things on here
raw.
that it's
It's just
it's raw, but
screechy. You get feedback, all of that. I mean, they didn't go in there and gussy up really anything. What you hear is how it went down, pretty much.
I I um
Tell
what
us
would
what you
you
really
rate?
think,
I
Grant.
I am. Ah, it's no it's no shining on. It's no or American band by any means.
Hmm.
Um, I think introduction could have been edited down. I don't want to listen to 2 minutes and 30 of that. That's stupid.
I will agree with you there because you're getting all this nonsense. We want Grand Funk. We want Grand. I think that's part of the Terry Knight's marketing. It's like, hey, kids, there's lots of other young people like you that really dig this group. And here's the proof. You got all that intro stuff, and then you got the one guy who's going, can we please have everybody move back a little bit so we can start this
Mhm.
Grand Funk set on time? Can you please move? It's like they're trying to create this mood like it's like almost
Is it kind of like
pandemonium
the
there.
Woodstock thing? Because when did the Woodstock soundtrack come out? This
That might
came
have
out
been a bit
because,
earlier.
it's kind of like that. A lot of stage announcements, and it's
Yeah.
almost like we're trying to show that, yeah, this is a really big deal.
That's
It
what I
could
mean.
be a
And
marketing thing. Okay.
I agree with you, Grant. And I think that's what Terry Knight did. And that's why that introduction is so long. He's trying to get the young people to, despite what all the critics are saying, your peers love this group, and here's the proof. Don't you want to be part of the in crowd, kids? I think it was part marketing. I think that's why that was drawn out for 2.5 minutes. Well, yeah,
Yeah, I want to be
when,
a part of that, Terry.
when you could have just had like 10 or 15 seconds and then the guy announcing, here's the group you've been waiting to see, Grand Funk Railroad.
I would
Yeah,
have liked
in
that better.
retrospect, that is a better way to go, but this is a
Mhm.
marketing thing, I'm
Okay,
sure.
that's
I'm
fine.
sure.
And I'm just real quick. I made some notes on some tracks. I'll just
Sure.
discuss those real quick. Are You Ready? Originally came out on Time. Very, I wrote on here, same things you wrote. Energetic. The band is tight. The band play together. There's so much energy coming off the band. And of course, you've got in conjunction with the crowd. You
Hmm.
almost can feel the energy. Okay. You
Through
can
the
feel, you
speakers.
almost feel like,
You're
exactly.
there.
You feel
Yeah.
like you're there. Okay.
And I'm sure you know this, Grant. Maybe a reason why you like this lead off track is its lead vocals is Don Brewer singing.
It helps. I think
Yeah, I
when
mean,
you've
there's
got
something about
Dawn
it.
and
Yeah.
Mark singing together, they have a good blend and it
Hmm.
dampens Mark Farner a little bit.
Yeah.
Too
There's just
much
no way
too
around that,
much
Grant.
Mark for me is not good. Unfortunately, I get a lot of great Mark Farner on this record.
Yeah.
But
He was go ahead.
no, I get it. But it's a lot for me to handle. And I
Hmm.
just can't I like Don Brewer. Okay. Anyway, the other thing I noticed is the mix is kind of wonky on this thing. I understand we're in 1970. I don't know if this was a 4 track. I don't know if this is 8 track, but the fuzz bass drives me absolutely up the wall.
Yeah. Mel, maybe because he didn't vocalize, they wanted to give him his due and
Either
amp up that bass a little bit.
Mark's guitar needs to come up in the mix, or we turn Mel down. And you mentioned he's a good bass player, but on here, it doesn't do one thing for me at
Oh,
all.
really? You're not
No.
feeling it?
Ugh, I
What
don't.
about TNUC? That bass line is pretty sweet.
Whatever. It's a lot. It's a lot.
I'm doing
So,
my best.
and then In Need from
Uh-huh.
Grand Funk. This has fuzz bass and harmonica on it.
There you
So
go.
this is like, holy shit. And then you've got a solo for Mark Farner.
Yeah. If only they could have added some bagpipe.
If they
That really
only
put it
could have
over the top.
edited that guitar solo down.
I know. Well, Mark, I
He's no
think
Hendrix. He's just an
no,
adequate player. He's
he's the
not,
perfect. I
he's
think he's the
not a
perfect.
he's not a guitar player's guitar player either. He is very basic. He can just play some licks. And it's just kind of,
He's the right guitarist for this band. Because
I
I
guess,
don't see this band as having
virtuosos.
a power trio in the way that Cream was, where you've
Mhm.
got a Clapton. This is a different type of
This is a
band,
poor
and
man's Cream, is what
well,
it
yeah, and
is.
he could play enough lead guitar to
Just
make these songs work and resonate, and they're powerful. And what he plays to me, with the leads he plays, are right for these songs. I mean, he's not Richie Blackmore, he's not
no.
Jimmy Page, but he's right for Grand
He's a
Funk
rhythm
Railroad.
guitar player, is what he
He
is.
is, and he's a fantastic to me.
Oh, I know.
And
I
despite the
love it.
fact he doesn't wear a shirt,
And
to
his
me, I think
nipples
he's a
are always out.
fantastic
I love it. I love it.
when he does what?
Nipples are out. I love it.
Oh.
I just think it's great. Um, so In Need, it needs edited. I find a lot of these tracks kind of bloated and they could be edited down. I understand it's live and you're not, but when you're not in the live setting, they don't translate as well to me. Okay.
Agreed.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh God, do I need 9 minutes and 50 seconds of In Need?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, it
more,
was a different era though
I
too,
know,
and that was more
I
kind of
get
a
it.
thing back then.
And it does
I
sound
get what
like
you're
the
coming
late
from.
60s. I
Oh
read a
yeah.
quote that I think Chris Scow, I hate to keep bringing him up, but he said, this is really a faster version of Iron Butterfly. And I listened to that and I'm going, yeah, I think you might be right. Very similar to Iron Butterfly, only speed it up.
Hmm.
I didn't really have much thoughts on Heartbreaker or Inside Looking Out. I thought I think I enjoyed side two a little bit better.
Okay.
Words of Wisdom, I guess, well, that's just Mark talking
That's
to,
just Mark saying, "Hey,
I
someone's
could do
passing
without
around
that.
some bad
Well, that's
drugs
kind of
out
cool, though.
there."
I like that. It's
Yeah,
kind of
they
like the
cared about.
Woodstock thing.
Yeah,
And I,
they cared about their audience, and that's very true of this band. Is that there was a
yeah,
communication between the
don't
audience
eat the
and band.
brown acid
Yeah,
every night.
hey, you might think they're your friend or your brother, but they're not. If they give you something, don't take it.
There you
Don't
go.
take it.
They're not
Don't
your
take
friend or
it.
brother. Mean Mistreater. I did make
Hmm.
I, when I was listening to it, I didn't see when I listen to these records, to be honest, I don't look at any information about it.
Hmm.
I don't want to be swayed. And when I listened to Mean Mistreater and I read it, that it was the single, I didn't know that. And when I thought about it, that should be the single. And it was the single.
How about you? See,
Yeah.
you got an ear
Um,
for these things,
I
guy.
wrote catchiest song on the album,
Hmm. That would be your
but that,
favorite if you were to pick one song off
yeah,
here.
well,
Okay.
it's the single. I don't know if it's I don't know if I have a favorite, but I wrote damn fuzz bass, ruined it.
Um,
Fuzz bass on, come on, Mel, calm down. Fuzz bass worked
well,
on the Beatles,
yeah.
on Rubber Soul. Think for yourself.
Mel,
once.
this is coming from a fellow bass player, so take
You
heed.
don't play fuzz bass on the whole record.
Yeah, pick your spots,
Okay.
Mel.
Pick one song and play fuzz bass. And I just, this is all lighthearted, but,
Yeah,
you know, I don't want anybody to burn crosses in my yard or burn my
yeah.
house down.
Grant, people are so freaking passionate about music that sometimes I think I mentioned this to you before. I actually saw two guys get in a fight over
Over
who's
Grand Funk,
no, not Grand Funk.
you two.
No, it was one dude thought the Rolling Stones were a better band. The other guy thought that Chicago was a better band. They're not even comparable. Yeah,
Well,
and
probably as players, Chicago could blow the
oh my
Stones
God, yeah,
away.
and that was his argument. Stones could
Well,
never play with Chicago.
well, but it's two
It's
apples and
too, you can't
oranges.
even compare them.
Right.
And boy, they got in. I was part of breaking that thing up. It was just like it went from just banter back and forth, just like little digs to man, they were just throwing haymakers. Craziness. Craziness.
And of course, by the time I'm on side three, I'm getting really worn out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is where I'm coming from. I get the excitement. I get the energy. I get the people in the audience getting crazy. But by the time side three's on it, and all these songs are 12 minutes long and there's
Mm-hmm.
high energy, everything is on 11. It
Yeah.
it's beyond 10. It's
Mm-hmm.
bang, 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 same tempo, hit hard, 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 energy, energy, energy. By the time I get to the end of Million Mistreater, I am drained.
Yeah,
Ear
I can
fatigue,
see I can see
ear
where you're coming
fatigue.
from.
Can't you guys just calm the fuck down? Just
Mm-hmm.
for one song. I mean, it's like, are they on speed? What is happening? So I'm just like, oh, please, God. Oh, Jesus. Please. It's just too much.
Yeah.
All right, but I stick through it because even though it's too much,
Well, you're a
it's just,
pro. You're a professional.
I'm not a, I just, it's just a lot. The whole album's 11.
Mm-hmm.
I
Oh,
get
it's
it.
intense. It's intense.
And then we got Mark Says All Right, and we've got the tribal drum
Yeah.
with the fuzz bass.
Yeah.
No,
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 you're not feeling
DC.
it. No, no, no,
No,
no.
I'm not in the audience. I don't think this transfers well. If I'm in the audience in 1970 on LSD, smoking weed, doing lines on my
Yeah.
girlfriend's
Buttocks.
buttocks, maybe I'd get it. But being a straight dude,
Yeah.
it
You're
doesn't
painting a different
translate.
picture. You went further than I did. Because I was gonna say, well, could you imagine a couple gals in halter tops or tube tops just
I
grooving
think
along
this
to that? You
album's
might.
made for, I think I haven't done speed before, but I'm going to assume that this was designed for someone who's taking speed. All right.
Well,
So the tribal drum, the drum bass, yeah, I get it. Get
uh,
out there in your Skippy leather outfit and do the tribal. It's Woodstock. This is
hmm
mini Woodstock.
yeah.
TMUC from On Time,
Mm,
11 minutes and 45 seconds. And
yeah.
then side four is one track Into the Sun. It's 12 minutes. It's just long, GC. It's too
I
much.
yeah, I hear you. And I think,
Todd was able to take them, do quick songs, good arrangements, wonderful production.
oh yeah,
Uh,
Grant, it was a different
a
era, and I
different
think
era.
that's part of our age difference and us coming of age as far as formulating our musical tastes and what led up to that point. See, I was kind of used to longer tracks and things being drawn out and everything, where when you came along, maybe it's like, this is effing tedious.
It
What the
is
hell?
tedious.
9 minutes? Knock this down to
But
three and a half.
but be honest with you. I've got the iron butterfly box set,
Oh wow.
which came out on Esoteric, I think, or Cherry Red, whatever,
Hmm.
which put out great stuff. UK.
Cherry Red is awesome.
Awesome. Well, the box set sounds wonderful. It's all their records, live stuff,
Hmm.
everything, everything.
Yeah.
And it's not tedious to me. I look at Iron Butterfly to be like on a higher level than these guys, even though Chris Kyle just says these guys are a faster version. But I listen to Iron Butterfly live and I don't get fatigued.
Right.
This just seems like I need to be on some kind of on some kind of
You're
some,
exhausted. You're
I'm
exhausted.
exhausted by
Yeah.
the time it's done.
I could see where you're coming from. I mean, it doesn't hit me that way, but I
Yeah.
think that may be just coming of age and time and music and what you were used to. And probably for you, I mean, this is like double tedious. And maybe with Iron Butterfly, there's enough play with
Mhm.
keyboards off of guitars instead of
That
keyboard
helps.
or
If
guitar.
Craig had been, I know there's
Oh,
keyboards. I know Mark's
but
playing
it's
some.
either one or the other. Yeah.
Craig, if Craig was in this band, it would have opened it up more, filled it out better. I think Craig Front was a blessing. I think when he came along, that put new light. Well, if you listen to Phoenix,
You
it's
could
like the
see
band.
that
You could, I could hear it on there.
it opened up possibilities for him because
Right.
I think they had, like I mentioned in our last show, I think they had gone as far as they could go as a trio and adding Craig Frost, and they were considering adding Peter Frampton.
Oh,
And I
would have
think
been great
both,
because
and well, it would have been good, but I think the keyboard thing worked better than if they added a second
if
guitar.
Mark just played rhythm and Peter Frampton played lead,
That could have been pretty cool. That would almost, not for you, but for me, like Steve Marriott and Mark
yeah.
Farner both have that soulful, and what Peter was used to vocalizing with
Hmm.
Steve Marriott. He could have, him and Don Brewer and Mark Farner. Can you imagine that trio? Because even in Humble Pie, you had Greg Ridley on bass also doing vocals. I mean, it would have been a very easy switch over, I think, for Frampton.
Hmm.
But in the great scheme of things, I think going with a solid keyboardist worked better for him. And of
I
course,
agree.
Frampton went through the roof as a
And I
solo.
like what Craig plays. I think he's a
Oh, I do
great
too.
keyboard player. He knows exactly what to play for the song,
Hmm.
doesn't overdo it, plays what's required, and it's not annoying. It's not noodly. I like to
And
use the word with noodling. There's a lot of guitar noodling on here that just
yeah. And with
brain
Craig
dead.
Frost, Grant, he kept his shirt on.
Thank the Lord. God, he, I know it's 1970. Man,
Yeah.
we're still in the 60s when I listen to this. But I it needs a little bit better mix. I'm not crazy about the mix. Like I said, I think Mel is way too hot and he overpowers everything else.
Mm.
And I'd like and but I will say, freaking Don Brewer is the man. His drumming on here
He doesn't get enough credit as a really
and
outstanding
his
drummer.
singing, when he sings it,
Oh, can
Mark,
you
he sounds
imagine
good.
playing what he plays and singing at the
He's
same
great.
time? Fantastic. Yeah.
Fantastic. So this is just a little bit much for me. That's
Hmm.
what I'm trying to say. Is it bad? I don't think it's bad. I think it depends on where you come in music. I think 1970, this might have been, holy crap, listen to this. This is fresh.
Exactly, Grant. I think we've nailed it. And part of our viewing of this early version of the band and why it resonates with me and not so much you. I just think it's the difference in our age and what we were exposed to coming up to those formative years
Mhm.
where you really cement what you like and what you're geared towards. I think that's
Right.
truly what it is for the most part.
So to be honest, it, there are good points on here. I'm, the fact that I'm not a big Mark, I'm trying, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'd like to look at one of those albums that came after the Todd Rundgren era and see how I like those. I don't know.
Hmm. I would say All the Girls in the World Beware is very, very Grand Funk pop. And
Well, maybe that's what I need.
then there's one called Born to Die, which
Yeah,
they take the sheen off the pop a little bit, but it's more pop centric than, like I say, the earlier
maybe
stuff.
that's what I need.
The Zappa produced one.
I've got that.
Yeah, I don't think the songwriting is all that hot.
I
I
don't
love
think.
the instrumental they did with Frank.
Mhm.
That's a very cool song. But overall, that one is not one of my favorites. Have you heard the first Mark Farner solo album? You'll love it because the album cover, he's shirtless on a horse. There you go, my friend.
Because I figure we might hit this,
Yeah. There's a
but
couple of songs there
I
I
haven't played
really,
it
really
yet. This
like.
is on Wounded Bird, ladies and gentlemen,
Hmm.
but it does have Mark shirtless on a horse.
My
So,
God, look at that. And look on the back, Grant. If any of the ladies watching, or oh, it
well,
doesn't
it's
have it.
not. But I want to
There's one
mention.
photo of him lying on his stomach, shirtless, and he's kind of looking at the
Yeah,
camera with
I
that
don't.
look.
I just drives me crazy. Dick Wagner is on
Oh
here,
yeah.
acoustic guitar, background vocals. Bob Kulick, Kulick
There you
is
go.
playing
He had
guitar.
some good people that he hooked up with.
Ricky Farner on black
It's his
background
brother.
vocals. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good lineup on here. Came out in
Hmm.
1977, produced by Dick Wagner.
It's
And
a good album. It really is.
mhm.
I think it's the
Well, we
best of
might have
his
to talk
solo
about it.
releases. Yeah, let's do that. We'll see if maybe Mark solo, maybe he tweaked a few things. If you can envision him with a shirt on, that might help. But he doesn't help with that album cover, does
I
he?
mean, what's that say about your
I
this
don't
one
know.
person?
You got a renegade brother.
Pompous?
You got a
Pompous?
you got a renegade brother that was part of the Bonanza clan. That's what it looks like to me. He's giving little Joe a run for the
I
money.
mean, I don't know what's happening here.
It's you try
I
and
don't know.
appeal, you try and put that sex appeal thing out there too. And then we were talking about Frampton. You know what happened to him?
He had
Once he got
he was, mhm.
I'm in you. Look at that album
You know what
cover.
that
There's
meant.
an angle. There's an
He
angle.
was talking to the women. I'm in you, baby.
Yeah,
I don't know,
absolutely.
but I mean, don't,
You
hey,
gotta, you
Peter
gotta,
Frampton was a good looking guy. I get it.
yeah, I
Use
know
it. Use what you've got. I'm for it.
exactly.
But this record is just a little bit too much for me.
All right.
And I'm not saying it's bad. I can take it in small doses because I literally get fatigued.
Yeah, there's no way you would sit through four sides of this and call an enjoyable listening experience. It's not going to work for you. But if a random song popped up, Mean Mistreater, if it popped up on
I
some
just
radio
think a lot of
station you're
these
listening to,
songs live, they needed Todd Rundgren to produce them. We could have got this down to a single record easily. There's a
mm,
lot of editing that needs to be done, and I get it. You're live, you're jamming. It's 1970. We jam.
yeah, the
But in
different,
2023, how does it translate?
yeah.
It's a very
I
late 60s album, you know.
Yeah, I would say, Grant, for me, when I do listen to this, I never listen to the whole thing. And it's part of it is nostalgia, I'll
Mhm.
admit. I do like an awful lot of it. I do
That's
agree
fine.
that in the ears of a 2023 person alive at this time, listening, reflecting back, yeah, it seems a little bit drawn out and a little
Mhm.
bit much. You'd like to pare it down a little bit, but that's different eras.
I get it. I think it's fine. It it is what it is. Okay. As a documentation of where the band was in 1970 and concert goers and how things were, it is a snapshot in time.
Hmm.
Me who likes my Grand Funk a little bit more advanced and better songwriting, better production, better song structure, sequencing,
Hmm.
more Don Brewer. This doesn't
Right.
work for me.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's
yeah,
bad.
but it's
I
not going to work for you because you prefer that version that's a little bit further on down the road and really came at it from a whole different approach.
oh yeah, totally different
Totally
approach.
different. Totally different.
Totally different.
Yeah. You're not
It's
going to
not
have
it
Todd in the producer's chair and come out with this or E Pluribus Funk.
no.
Ba-dum, 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 ba-dum.
Mm-mm. I think that they needed a strong producer to whip them into shape, and they
Yeah,
benefited from it. Now, I would probably give this, most reviews give this a 3 stars. I think a 3 out of 5. I think that's fair.
very fair. Very
It's
fair.
not a 5, it's not a 4 star for me. It
No,
could
it's
be
not
for
gonna.
you,
Hmm.
and I think that's awesome because you can listen to it. I just can't. And as much as I've listened to it, because this we've been planning this for a month. Okay.
Exactly.
I've been listening to it off and on, and I just get so worn out.
Yeah,
But in small
it's
doses, it's
your
fine.
yeah, it's your honest experience with this, and you've given it an honest shot. And
I gave it a shot.
that's all this experiment is about. It's
It's
like
it's just
you know what you like and you know what resonates with you and you know what is not working for you.
right.
So yeah, that's
I'd give it a
all good.
solid 3.
All right.
I don't think I don't think if I even listened to it anymore, it would change. I think
I don't think so either, Grant. You're firmly cemented and you've
it,
given it an honest
yeah,
listen many times, and it is what it is, as they say.
it's it's a snapshot.
Yeah.
Now, I would like to either do because I might dig it, the more pop stuff. What happened post Rundgren? I've never listened to either one. It's a total
They They went in a further pop direction. If we go with all the girls in the world beware, oh, you're gonna love that album cover because all four of them have their heads
Yeah.
imposed on muscle man bodies, shirtless with little under red and blue underwear. But that has it has some very interesting things on it. There's a song on there called Running, and it sounds what Grand Funk would sound like if they teamed up with Chicago. It's got some very
That sounds kind
interesting,
of cool.
yeah, there's horns are very
I like
prominent in those
horns.
things, and it's a Don Brewer sung song.
Oh, for God's
You
sakes,
might have that
I'm
on repeated
sold,
play.
baby.
You might have that on repeated play once you hear
I'm
it once.
sold.
Maybe, yeah, maybe we
How
could do
prevalent
that.
is Don Brewer on that record?
And once Todd got a hold of that band and they saw the chart success that having Don Brewer sing a lot of those tunes, Don was featured more in the
Don
later
had a little bit more
albums.
clout,
He
didn't he?
did because they respected Todd and
They loved
it
Todd.
worked. It worked for him. And it's
Todd was
like,
like their
man,
buddy. They all hung out. They loved Todd.
yeah, they had a good rapport. I mean, not everybody does because Todd is pretty much, he's focused, he knows what he wants, and he gives them the direction. And we're not going to him and haw. We're going to get the job done. We're going to get this album out on the streets. That's what they're paying me to do. And but they loved working with him. In fact, he was the one that suggested to them that they do the locomotion. And I'm
Hmm.
shocked that Todd had never heard that song before because he's in the studio, the swamp, where Mark Farner's farm was in a recording studio.
Hmm.
Mark comes through the door after lunch and he's singing the locomotion. Todd goes, "What is that?" And he goes, "Man, that's Lil Eva, the locomotion. Haven't you ever heard that song?" And Todd said, "No." I said, "But you guys got to record that right now." It's perfect. The locomotion, Grand Funk Railroad, the
Hmm.
tie-in, but it was like Todd that said, "Yes, this will be a hit for you guys," and he said the rest is history. So
So there you go. I think we've discussed it. I think we'll
we've
look.
covered
What is
all
it? But the little
angles,
girls beware. What is it? All the women run for
all
cover.
the
What's the name of the record?
all the girls in the world beware.
Maybe we
And
should look at that.
that song itself has a very funky beat, and it's got some kind of funny lyrics to it as well. So that song's got different approaches. That song's got some funny lyrics. The other song, "Running," Don
Mhm.
Brewer lead vocals, bring Grand Funk in
All right.
Chicago together to record a tune.
That sounds
Boom.
good.
And
That
there's other
sounds like a
things
good
there.
combination.
Well,
All right,
let's
ladies and gentlemen, that's
tentatively
what we're
plan
going to
on it.
look at next. Now, before we wrap it up, I want to get your rating of this after all these years because I gave it a 3. It's just there. It's not terrible.
Right.
Everyone heard my critique. It's just a
Hmm.
lot.
Oh yeah.
What would you rate this after all these years? What would you rate it when you were a kid? And
That's
then
a
what would
great
you rate
point.
it now?
Okay. Grade school DC would have rated this album a 5. I
Okay.
wore the crap out of that album and I'd hook up my guitar and I'd play along as best as I could.
Hmm.
Just like why am I drawing a blank here? Rand. Rand also learned a lot of guitar listening to old Grand Funk.
Yeah.
Uh so I would be a 5 grade school.
Okay. How
Now
was this aged and how do you look at it now?
2023 DC would give this, and I'm mixing in a little nostalgia here. I give it a
It
4 or 5.
you
Just
give it
if
you
I
give
just
it what?
4.5.
4.5.
If
Okay.
I take away the nostalgia aspect, I would give it a 4 or a 3.75
Okay. That's
in
fair.
2023, but I can't help but have those memories flood in. And that's what music's all about. It's your
Hmm.
history with certain bands and songs.
Yeah.
They influence how you feel about them.
Yeah.
And if I have to include that aspect of my life when I grade something like this. So
I
I
agree
say
100%.
4.5. So many memories, Grant. And like I say, my goofy little bands I played in
Hmm.
coming up, we played songs off this album.
Good.
That
As you should. It was the
yeah,
music of your
it
era
it
then.
it
When you were a
means something to
kid.
me. Yeah.
No, when I was a kid, we were what? God, when I first started playing guitar, we were playing we were playing Live Wire. We were
Yeah.
playing TNT.
Yep.
Same thing. We weren't playing Grand Funk
Yeah.
because by the time I started playing guitar, no one knew who in the hell Grand Funk was.
You might as well have been playing Rudy Valley tunes, vaudeville
We were
from the
playing
20s.
AC/DC songs.
Melancholy baby.
AC/DC was my Grand Funk.
Yeah. Oh, AC/DC when you were coming up early 80s,
Yeah.
all
Big.
over the place.
All the kids, all the
QFM
little
96.
garage bands. right?
Thunder Chief. Oh yeah, my
All the
God,
garage
yeah.
bands playing that stuff. It was
Oh
a
yeah.
staple. I
And
get it. Totally get it.
this
I totally
was
get
a
it.
yeah. Well, this was another great discussion here, and it's very
Holy
interesting
shit. I love
the
these Grand Funk
directions
discussions.
we're coming from. And so all the girls in the world beware, and then maybe we'll tackle a solo
We
Mark
could do
Farner
that. Well, we
album.
could do both Mark Farner albums in one show.
Okay, let's plan on that.
Well, so it'd be what this one, what,
Excuse me.
77, and then the one that came out in 79, No
Yeah, no
Frills.
frills. Yeah,
I mean, they kind of go hand in hand. You
we
know,
could
it's the
do it.
70s.
Yeah, we can do it because then Mark went on to do a lot of Christian music,
Right.
and not so much. You cannot draw those parallel. Although Grand Funk had a spiritual end to a lot
Of
of their
course.
tunes, but let's tackle
They had a
those
lot of tribal
first two.
drums,
There
and
you go.
Mark
Yeah,
says, all right.
Mark
So
says, "All right,
tribal drum,
all
very
right."
spiritual. The fuzz bass, really spiritual for me. Not a big fan of fuzz bass.
Okay, okay,
Not a whole album of fuzz bass live when it's too hot in the mix.
yeah.
All right, everybody. DC, I want to thank you for doing yet another
Oh, yeah,
enjoyable
thoroughly enjoyed it,
episode.
Grant. These are a lot of fun.
These are fun. It's all lighthearted. I am not, like I said, I say it, I love Shining On and I love We're American Band. I 5 star easy.
I
I can
feel
listen.
like,
I said that in a show that I could listen to both of those
yeah,
albums over and over again, and I
yeah.
do not get tired of them.
I
They're
feel like
that good.
I've done my work.
You've done your work.
I've got you at least to appreciate those Todd
Oh,
produced
they're great.
albums. So
So
I'm
you have
all
to
good with
understand.
this.
That's why I want to look at an album that came after the Todd and see how the band, because I've never heard them. So this is going to be
Okay.
great. Okay.
All right.
I want to
Uh,
see how they handled that period after dealing with Todd. And see, I might listen to that and go, oh my God, another five, another five.
mm-hmm.
Maybe I
They have a
like that a little
prominent,
bit more of a,
yeah.
because I think they really can write singles and hit singles.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, listen to those Todd records.
Yeah.
They
And
just need someone to hone them in more. That's it.
their producer on that All the Girls in the World Beware is Jimmy Ienner. Is that how you say his
Yeah,
name?
he produced the Raspberries.
Raspberries.
I like
So
it.
they're moving from Todd to him,
I don't, that's fine
and
with
he's
me.
another he can pull out the hit singles as well.
I'm
So
fine with that. I
all
am
right.
fine with that.
This will be very interesting.
I'm going to keep it open, or I'll give you an honest review,
Okay.
and it's all lighthearted, everybody.
Yeah. Hey folks, don't get all bent out of shape. And
No,
just
they
what you
won't.
love it.
My audience
And
is really
realize
good
they're
about
very
taking it.
open-minded here at the
Yeah.
warehouse.
But
We're
we
about
just
to
want to look at the stuff. If anything, I'm not trying to discourage you from getting the live album.
no, we want
You might
honest
dig Janet
reaction.
stuff. You
Yeah,
might dig it.
we want honest reactions here.
Right.
What you like, and what you don't like. We're not going to hold it against you. We're not
And,
like that here at the
and if I'm
warehouse.
full of shit on this record, let me know. But be
And it wouldn't be
nice.
the first time that someone said I was full of shit. So hey, I'm
Just be
over it.
nice when you tell me I'm
Yeah,
full of
just
shit.
say, sir, you're full of shit. I like that.
Nicely. Well,
Nicely.
everybody who subscribes to the warehouse, they've been great. And I do appreciate the comments. I look at all the comments.
I do as well. And I love
And
when
I know
people
you're
comment.
always good about our shows, and I
Yeah.
appreciate you chiming in.
Oh,
I think it's important that anybody who's on a show, even the guests, that they chime in. People want to hear
this
from us.
this
And
is what it's all about. We're a community, and
right,
I want to get to know a lot of the regulars that tune in, and we can have running conversations because
exactly.
I learn things from them as well. They
Right.
suggest things to me, and
Oh,
I check them out, and it's like, boom! How come I didn't know
I
about
mean, D
this?
Rockers
D Rocker has turned
tuned
me
me
on.
on. I
Oh
bought
my,
stuff because D
yeah,
Rocker says you need to get it.
yeah,
All
D
right. And I
Rocker.
go out and buy it.
I'm gonna be walking around with a barrel with no shirt like Mark Farner with D Rocker's suggestions. I'm buying
But
CDs left and right. I'm not gonna have clothing here.
I swear to God, the people that make comments on my channel are some of the smartest music people I've
Very
ever seen
astute.
on the
Very,
very
yeah.
astute. So that's why I want to hear from everybody. Please comment.
Yeah,
Tell me if
folks.
I'm really full of shit or maybe there's something I'm not hearing,
Well,
but I don't think so.
no. You have an honest and
I'm honest.
reaction, and you've done your homework. So
So there you
you
go.
can't ask for anything more than that.
No. So please like, subscribe, make a comment. We will see you on the next Grand Funk show. All the girls beware. What is it
All
called?
the girls in the world beware.
Yeah. See, that tells you how I didn't pay attention to any of the Grand Funk catalog. So we're going to look at that one. I'm interested to see how I look at it. And then later we'll be looking at the two Mark Farner solo records from the 70s. Hey,
and folks,
maybe I'll like that version of Mark Farner better.
Maybe you will. And we're going to be doing Flint, which was the other three guys from Grand Funk, what they did post Grand Funk Railroad.
And that's going to be in our one and done series. So there'll be a panel discussion, but DC will be there, but we'll have a whole panel like on the one and done. This series is just DC and I rapping. But Flint could go into that whole Grand Funk series, though. We'll put it in there. But yeah, I'll be interested to, because I'm a like Down Brewer, so we'll see. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, DC. This was great.
All right,
Thanks everybody for watching. Man. We couldn't do it without you. So we'll see you on the next one, everybody. And hey, if this is up, I don't know, it might be up before Christmas. If I don't see you, have a happy holiday. And we are having I'm not going to promote anything because I don't know when this will be up. All right. We'll see everybody. Good night.
So long, folks.
So long.